بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم اجعل قلبي بارا ولسانا وشكارا ورزقي دارا وأولادي أبرارا وجعلنا عند قبر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقرا قرارا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما دعوا بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز الشان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عن حماس العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يراه ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يراه نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحمه من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوا أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويسارعون في الخيرات وأولئك من الصالحين صدق الله العلي العظيم الله Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I begin by advising myself and all of you to practice and piety of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited is from Surah Al-Imran, ayat number 114, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses mu'mineen in particular by saying, yu'minuna billah, those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have faith in Allah. Wal yawmil akhir, and they also have faith in the hereafter and the day of judgment. وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. These are the individuals who enjoin what is good and forbid that is evil. وَيُسَارِعُونَ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ, and they hasten toward good deeds. They're active in performing good deeds. They are among the righteous. Many such ayat in Quran which gives you a holistic discussion or overview of who is considered to be righteous in the sight of Quran, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Given the nature of events that are happening around us in our surrounding, of course, it makes us question this fact as well, that what is right and what is wrong. And a lot of time people are confused between right and wrong. Certain things, the values that are, of course, set by human beings cannot be taken as a, measuring stick, in other words, that by which you can go ahead and measure that certain things sometimes is considered to be good for them and certain things, the same things sometimes would be considered bad for them. Someone else does something similar, might be bad for them. If they do it themselves, it will be considered good for them. And vice versa. This is how, unfortunately, humans think, and this is how we make laws, and this is how we perceive the world around us. And this is not far-fetched when it comes to even in our own individual lives. That when it comes to me getting a point across, I'm going to think that I'm the righteous over here. There couldn't be anything wrong with me as far as I'm trying to get this point across. If for example, someone says, no, I don't accept this and I don't believe in this, right away there could be a conflict that comes about. So we could have differences of opinion regarding many such things. But there's one thing that is certain, the criteria that is set by Quran, the criterion that is set by Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In that regard, there aren't two views. There's just one view that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented. He is the creator and we trust in Him completely. So when it says yu'minuna billahi wal yawmil akhir, those who believe in Allah and those who believe in the day of judgment, they do what is called amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar, and they hasten and they're active when it comes to performance of good deeds. Ulaika minas salihin. These are considered to be the righteous in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Looking at this, I want to bring in a few discussions, of course, especially the contemporary things that are happening around us, but just a understanding of what this ayat is telling us and how does it relate to us. First question would be, didn't we learn anything from the sacrifice of Imam Hussein? An example for those who tried to stop Imam Hussein, did we not learn anything from Imam's sacrifice first and foremost, and then the example of those who tried to stop Imam from going about what he performed and what he did? This is a very valid question, and you and I, who would be better to assess themselves and answer this question? Other people are deprived of personalities such as Imam Hussein. Other nations are deprived of personalities such as Amirul Mu'mineen. Yeah, you and I are blessed to have these personalities in our lives, and therefore, what good is it serving that if we do not go ahead and assess by looking at, have we not learned anything from the sacrifice of Imam Hussein? Have we not learned from the atrocities of those who committed these atrocities in the time of Imam Hussein? Try and stop him. Have we not learned anything from them. So a few points regarding this principle of Amr and Nahi. Number one, it is possible that our reminder doesn't have any effects now. And therefore, something that is not going to be effective now, we'll go ahead and say, well, who cares? Let's not worry about it. Here is a point worth mentioning. Today you see all of these uprisings that are happening, or I want to better word it, that these protests, peaceful protests that are happening at the college campuses, right? Two things regarding this. Number one, when we look at this particular aspect, what it says is it is possible that the reminder may not have an effect right away, so you don't give up, right? If Imam Hussein thought that nothing will happen if I got up, and that's what people thought too, because Imam Hussein was martyred along with all his companions. All were left were women and children with fourth Imam. Nobody can say, well, they can challenge the ruler of the time. The victory was given, apparent victory was given to Yazid. That's what people thought. Wasted, cause was in vain, and all these different things were said. But of course, something that is done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, you don't worry about the effects. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. That's what even Prophet was sent to do. All he was sent to do was to convey the message. Has effects or not, then he left it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Same thing we learned that Imam Hussein, if he did the same thing, he would have never gotten out of his house. And so we wouldn't be enjoying like this, sitting over here, having this Majlis-e-Aza, for example, having these gatherings, for example, having Islam, because Imam himself had said it, لا يبقى في الإسلام إلا اسمه ولا يبقى في القرآن إلا رسمه. Nothing of Islam will remain except the name. Nothing of Quran will remain except the khat, rasm of it. Everything else will perish. So Imam knew it might not have effects right away, and we will have to give the sacrifice, but tomorrow it'll be effective. And we see the fruits of it 14 centuries later. How true was Imam. Similarly, when these protests are taking place, now here in the college campuses, began from Columbia University and other UCLA now, and you see, it's carrying over to other countries, following the lead and the example of United States, in Australia and other countries. Now the similar protests are happening, raising their voices for this genocide, speaking against it, protesting, which is, of course, especially in this part of the world, gives you that freedom of speech to go ahead and say whatever you want to. Whether or not the person in front of you likes it or not, you have complete freedom of, expressing your opinion, regardless of how and who and what is standing in front of you. You can go ahead and, we gave example last week as well, you can go ahead and offend 2 billion people in the world. Well, that's okay. You have freedom of speech. You can go ahead and say ill things about the Prophet who's revered by 2 billion people in the world. That's okay. You have freedom of speech. You can go ahead and burn a book and speak ill about a book which is revered by 2 billion people in the world, but that's okay because you have freedom of speech. So at that point, freedom of speech is something which is very sacred. Why? 250 years ago, forefathers had written it down as the amendments, and therefore we keep them to be, patthar pe lakhir. Therefore, we're not going to go ahead and change our stance on that. True. Stay true to all of that. With that said, when this whole thing began, in fact, we put a date on it, October 7th, but this has been going on, as we've kept on mentioning, for the past 75 years. This is not something which began on that day, as unfortunately is painted by people. So a lot of these, protests that are happening, which is a good thing, people are now realizing it. People are now having this awareness, especially the students, the children, the youngsters are now realizing, coming out of their bubble of being only focused on entertainment, that this sports is going on or that, sport is going on, or occupied with this or that, coming out of all of that. Speaking about that which they see now all over the world as something which is an atrocity, a genocide declared by international court and other, reputable organizations. And when they speak about it, of course, they're being persecuted, their voices are being suppressed. Similar protests that took place 2 years ago, I'm using the word similar, although there was different of its kind, that took place over, a girl who, for example, in Iran, when Mahisa Amini, her scarf was snatched, and then, or she was allegedly killed by the authorities. All these protests that were happening. The first people who were worried about the protests in Iran was right here. Oh, we need to speak about the people of Iran. They're suffering. The government is cracking down on them, and these are peaceful protesters, and they have the right to speak, and they're being suppressed. And we were the alambardar of world freedom and freedom of speech at that point. Now, same thing is happening in our own backyard when these students are standing up for something that they see which is happening outside, not even in this country. If it was something which was happening within this country, then you would have difference of opinion. Something that is happening outside, and they're raising their voices for it. Right away, you see, this is where we need to stop and crack down. Right away, a rule and the law is passed. That is the Awareness Act, right? Anti-Semitic Awareness Act is passed quickly to go ahead and put this all under a law that if anyone said anything about this genocide, they will be also considered anti-Semitic. Therefore, we understand that's one aspect of it. That is something, the awareness has been created. The second aspect that I got out of it is that we've been receiving messages and emails, and people have been contacting, and people have come up and personally have said the same thing, that, Maulana, we need to act and help these students out. And we should. We should be helping them out. No doubt about that. But then within these messages, you get a message like this, that it is shameful for Muslims that they are sitting at home while these non-Muslims are protesting. Well, that is not a right thing to say. They are just realizing what's happening. We've been standing by this calamity for the past 8 months. And in fact, we've been standing by it for the past 75 years. So we've been speaking about it. Every year on Yom al-Quds, we talk about it. For the past 6 and 7 months, we've been discussing it. Now, it's a good thing that the college campuses are realizing, students are realizing, and the awareness is created. But to go ahead and say, well, they need us, true, they need us. We need to support them too. In a peaceful manner, of course. Never to turn things into violence. Of course, and they're not turning it into violence protests anyway. There are these agitators that are going there and being planted in place to go ahead and create the commotion so that the entire protest is swept away. And of course, you've seen the videos and the pictures and the media coverage of all of this, and I don't need to explain further beyond that. But of course, you cannot say that Muslims should be ashamed that non-Muslims are standing up for the rights of the people of Gaza and Muslims are quiet. Where is this coming from? All these protests that have been happening for the past 6, 7 months, have you put a blind eye to that? No doubt, we need to support the students, those who are standing up here, right here in our own township, right here in our own state, in our own cities. If there are universities where these things are happening, support them, provide whatever they need in order to have voices along with them. But that is something which is under the purview of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. These are some of the tenets that Islam has taught us from the very beginning. And you might have thought in the beginning, 6 months ago when we did these protests and people were calling for this call and that call, what is it going to happen? What's going to happen? Those short-sighted people said, nothing's going to happen. We can't do anything sitting over here. Look what you have done. 6 months later, people over here are realizing, and there's an uprising. There's an uproar. They're questioning their own government. They're questioning their own elected leadership. That's the awareness you created. But if you had not done this 6 months ago, 7 months ago, then of course, nothing of this will be in fruition today. So right away, don't turn things down by saying, oh, nothing will happen. What can I do about it? No, you must play your role. And because of that role you played, today you see what is happening in all of the campuses around America as well as other countries. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. What did you do? You basically created an ambience, an atmosphere where this was ready to be picked up by others, and now they're taking the baton to the next level, inshallah. For example, when a person prays salat individually, it is still recommended for them to say adhan and iqamah. What do you say in adhan and iqamah? You say hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah, hayya ala khair al amal. Who are you calling? You're by yourself. You're standing up fajr salat by yourself. It is mustahab to say adhan and iqamah. And at the 4:30 in the morning, and you're saying, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala falah, who are you calling upon? You're alone. Does it even make sense? Of course, we don't know the translation. Many of us don't know the translation. You're basically saying, come towards salat, come towards the best of the actions, come towards that which is success. That's what you're saying in Arabic. But who are you saying it to? You're saying it to yourself? No, just to create this atmosphere and ambience that is virtuous itself. And therefore, when you say Hayya ala salah, although there's no one around you to listen to you, but you're creating the ambience of virtues around you, and that is what's important. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ صَلُّوا عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. So by performing this nahi anil munkar, what did you do? You took away the pleasure and the enjoyment. These people were enjoying what they were doing, and they didn't have any ill feeling about it. Now, maybe there's a possibility in their dhamir, which is dead for a while now, might be awakened, and there might be some ill feeling about it that, no, this is wrong, and we need to go ahead and stand up and condemn this. And of course, this is an excuse and ultimatum upon the sinner. By creating this ambience, you're taking the pleasure out of what they're used to doing, and these crimes and the sins that are being committed. If you don't speak about it, person thinks it's okay, and they continue on the same path. But if you speak about it, you make it look bad, right away this person, if there's any humanity left in them, they will think about it. Sixth Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam narrates, he said that Allah spoke to Hazrat Musa alayhi salam and informed him that I show grace to my children whose fathers try to do good. If the parents are righteous, the children receive the blessings, and vice versa. So here, today when you do this, not only that you are gaining this thawab and reward for yourself, but also this will be bestowed and given to your children. But if we are not doing this, then what are we considered? A silent community. What is a silent community? A dead community. Rawayat mentioned the silent community is a dead community. Quran iterates, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاتٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. There is hayat and life for you in retribution. When you give punishment, when of course law enforcement authorities give punishment, and sometimes the punishment has to be where someone has to put on death penalty. Lakum fil qisas hayatun. Quran says what? There's hayat for you in it. There's life for you in it, in retribution. So if a killer is given severe punishment, it will create a safer environment for others. So therefore, let the activists protest the laws set by Islam and make those who are committing this crime, make them look bad. Of course, you and I don't have the authority to punish anyone, but those authorities that have this, like the International Court of Justice and whatnot, even when they are passing judgments, it seems like they are also not in authority to go ahead and punish anyone for the crimes that have been committed. But nonetheless, this is where you go ahead and move, because you don't want to be considered a silent community. Amirul Mu'mineen said in a hadith, "Man taraka inkar al-munkare biqalbihi wa yadihi wa lisanihi fahuwa mayyatun bain al-ahya." He said, a person who doesn't oppose evil with his heart, with his tongue, and with his hands. Here, all three of these have to be utilized, right? With your heart, with your tongue, and with your hands. In other words, person does not differentiate between good and bad. This person is a dead person walking between those who are alive. Man taraka al-inkar. The one who doesn't do inkar. Inkar over here is nahi anil munkar, basically. And if you're not doing that, you're busy in your own life, you're busy with making ends meet, that's good. You need to go ahead and provide for your family as well. Nobody's saying run away from that. But there are definitely time in your life where you can spare for some activism, whether it be in person, by going to these places, taking some time out of your busy schedules and going to these places and providing your presence over there, or, we live in a social media world. Something that you can do on social media as well in order to go ahead and oppose. Remaining silent, of course, this is not an option, number one. So we throw out the window. There's no option to remain silent anymore. So you have to be active. But remaining silent has no benefit at all. there's a lot to lose on the contrary. Who would understand this better than us, who live in the era where terror threats are so frequent that the citizens requested by law to keep their eyes open, right? If you see something, that's what you see when you go to the airports. That's what we're being requested by common folks, because we live in a place, in a time where threats are so common, they could come from anywhere at any time. And therefore, everyone has to be vigilant. And so, well, you hired these law enforcement agents to work at the airport. You got these police to go ahead and serve as the security officers and all those people there. Then why do you need us? So no, your eyes should also become our eyes. Because if you report something, if you're vigilant about it, many things might be missed by a few security officers that are in the surrounding. Therefore, you got to be mindful in this regard. Based on Surah Asr, and I'll come to a conclusion, those who have brought faith and have done righteous deeds. Was it enough for them? Surah Asr, do I need to remind? Wal Asr, innal insana lafi khusr. Except who? Illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat. Everyone is at loss except those who brought iman and did righteous deeds. So Maulana, alhamdulillah, I'm mu'min, and I come for Jummah, and I've done all the wajibat, I'm taking care of my khums and zakat as well. I've done hajj, alhamdulillah, multiple times. I've done all the things that are required by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as far as the furu'udeen are concerned. What else do you need from me? Quran did not stop there by saying the loss of mankind in al-asr. When it's al-asr is mentioned, the word al-asr, the alif lam, istaghraq, includes everyone. Innal insana, all of mankind. Did not say, no, not mu'mineen. Only munafiqeen, mushrikeen, kuffar. No, innal insana. Allah used the word insan. Anyone who is under the sphere of insan is included in this ayah, regardless of what faith and background they come from. Innal insana lafi khusr. And if it was enough, Allah would have stopped at number 2 by saying al-iman wa amal salih. He would have stopped at the second thing. He didn't stop over there. Was iman and amal salih enough? We thought iman and amal salih is enough. No, it continued. If you want to come out of this loss, then 2 more things are needed over here. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. تَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. That is the key right there. That you enjoin. And you do wasiyah to each other. You include others. Deen Mubin Islam is never an individual religion. So much emphasis on Jamaat. Right? The Jummah cannot even happen without Jamaat. If you're alone, you don't pray Jummah. Jummah has to have at least 5 people in it. It's a religion of congregation. It wants everyone to be together in it. You can't say, well, I'm doing everything, alhamdulillah, myself. I'm performing all of the wajibat. I don't care about my neighbor. I don't care about what's happening, this and that. That doesn't bother me. That doesn't affect me. Until it bothers me and affects me, only then I will go ahead and do something about it. Then you've waited way too long. So Quran tells us what? If we fail to do tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr, then that khusran we have not come out of. Innal insana lafi khusr. Insan remains in that khusran. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we can deduce that silence in front of sin is sort of an approval of that sin. Silence in front of these atrocities, is genocide, is sort of an approval. So no, I wholeheartedly deny this. But you're silent. How are you saying that I deny this and you're still silent about it? No, I can't really say anything about it. My heart is there with it. That's why you read in the ziyarat all the time, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. People who heard about it, but they remained silent. They remain radhi with it. Those who killed Imam, those who did dhulm on Imam, we know what's their end is going to be like. But those who sami'at bidhalik faradiyat bih, they are also part of it. You can't remain silent when it comes to this. Of course, there's more in this discussion. I won't be able to do justice if I continued. I began with this ayat for you from Surah Al-Imran, ayat number 114. Those who have faith in Allah and the last day, and they do amr bil ma'ruf, and they do nahi anil munkar, and they're active. If you want to look for an ayat which says and which endorses activism in Quran. This is the ayat right here which is endorsing activism in Quran. You need to have this activism, whatever way it is possible for you within your own resources. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq and ability to be able to fulfill these commands, direct commands from Quran and as well as Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us guidance so that we're able to differentiate between right and wrong. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us strength, inshallah, one day, that we are amongst those who are setting these standards and we're not amongst those who are following these standards. In Nazal Hadith, وَأَبْلَغَ الْمُوِذَ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبا ووسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها فعن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا فهو الصفا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لا طوفان للعباد بجوده ولا وعد المظلمين بحلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين ألا قد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لصفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة النساء العالمين وبدة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أمنة الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه وكل ناظر بنظرة منا إليه وجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وولو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أحله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أحله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. اللهم اجعل من يذكر فتنفذ ذكرى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله العظيم كل ضمن وعدو. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم وقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jummah Mubarak to you all. Let us recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is Mr. and Mrs. Amir Rizvi and his family. Please recite a Surah Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as your Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawm الدين. وصلى على محمد وآل محمد. Just quick announcements regarding our programs. Inshallah, tonight we have the Quran Academy and Futsal program before Maghrib, of course. And then after Maghrib tonight, we will have the Majlis to commemorate and observe the Shahadat of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Today is the 24th of Shawwal, and after Maghrib, of course, will be the Shab of 25th of Shawwal. So that program will start at 8:15 with Namaz Maghrib, Salatul Maghrib, or by So Salam Marsiya, and inshallah, Majlis Aza after that. So that's tonight, Friday, May 3rd, starting at 8:15. Just a couple of community announcements as well. Tomorrow, Saturday, May 4th, there will be Majlis Aza for the Chelum of Marhum Syed Rizvi, which will take place at Mahfil Shah Khurasan. That is tomorrow, starting at 4 p.m. with Quran Khani and 5 p.m. Majlis. You're requested by the family to attend that Majlis Aza. Maulana Syed Muhammad Rizvi will be the speaker for that Majlis tomorrow, Saturday, May 4th at 4 p.m. Mahfil Shah Khurasan. And then on Sunday, there will be Majlis Aza here for Majlis Jahlum. For Marhuma Sayyida Nasreen Fatima, daughter of Sayyid Hasnan Akbar. This majlis, inshallah, will take place on Sunday, May 5th at 5:30 p.m. 5:30, inshallah, p.m. will start and will conclude the majlis by Namaz Maghriban. Families are requesting your attendance in both of these majalis. Weekends upon us, Salatul Fajr, timing change, so 5 a.m. inshallah, Saturday morning and Sunday morning, Salatul Fajr, litmus test for all of us that we can get up that early and come to masjid. So inshallah we'll have 5 a.m. Salatul Fajr, followed by Quran session, and then we have breakfast. Sunday we'll have Salatul Fajr, followed by Nahjul Balagha, commentary of Nahjul Balagha, and then inshallah Ziyarat Ashura. And of course, the breakfast will follow that as well. Sadiq school enrollment is going on, as well as enrollment for the summer camp. The details are out there on the TV in the foyer area. Please do consider enrolling your children to Sadiq school. The next academic year is upon us, of course, right after summer, so therefore registration is open. Refer people, tell people, take advantage of this opportunity while we are, of course, fortunate to have full facility here with masjid as well as full-time school for our children. Let us recite Dua Sihat, this ayah karima 5 times for all of those people who are in need of dua, suffering, struggling, going through difficult time. Remembering, of course, our brothers and sisters overseas, especially in Gaza and other places. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أما أن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Let's proceed to Salatul Asr. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، الله أكبر.
ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.